Before we get into today's episode, I'd really like to thank everybody who has subscribed to my channel. If I get 100 subscribers, I can then pick a custom URL, so we're well on our way. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. Thank you. As you saw in one of the earlier segments, the smartphone and the DSLR are not very good at capturing audio on their own. And think about it. Take a look at this picture of a DSLR and look where its microphone ports are. I think one of them is actually a speaker port and the other one's a microphone port. But it's just not going to be capturing good audio. I mean, that's on top of the camera and I'm in front of the camera. On a smartphone, if you look down at the pinhole connection down at the bottom, how much audio is that really going to capture as well? And again, the example that I showed you, you can tell, it just doesn't get good audio. Okay, but there are ways around all of this. Two things you want to consider. One is a microphone and the other is an external recorder. There are several kinds of microphones you can be using. One is a shotgun microphone, which you can use in various different ways. For example, I'm using it right now to capture the audio from above me. It's mounted on a boom pole over me, just out of frame, and it's feeding it into an external recorder. The other way is you can put this shotgun microphone on top of the camera itself and direct it right towards me. On any device, whether you're using a lavalier or a shotgun microphone, whatever you're using for a microphone, the idea is to get it as close to the source of the sound as you can to get the best quality. So you want it as close to my voice, to my mouth as you can. So it's just located just over my head. If I had a lavalier microphone on, I'd clip it right here to my shirt as close as possible to my voice to capture the best sound quality that you can. So shotgun microphone is one of the ways to go. And as I mentioned, the other is a lavalier microphone, which you see all the time on television news and TV shows and things like that, where they clip a lavalier microphone on and feed that into an external sound recorder to capture the sound. Now, in both of these, both microphones, both type of microphones, or any type of microphone really, you can feed it directly into the camera to try to capture the sound. The downside of that is it's not as easy to monitor the sound, and you do want to be monitoring your sound and listening for extraneous noises that might be coming in, or just if it came loose or something might happen. You do want to be monitoring it as much as you can, try to make sure you're capturing the sound. And often that's not easy if it is going into a smartphone or if it's going into a DSLR camera. So that's just something to keep in mind. So those are your microphones. The other part now is an external recorder. Now, this does add a little bit of complexity to the process, but it's well worth it in terms of the sound quality. And there are two that I use, and there's a lot out there, but these are the two that I use. And one is called an H1N from Zoom, and the other one's an H4N from Zoom. The H1 is really my go-to because it really is so simple and easy to use. You plug a microphone into one side of it, you plug your headphones into the other side, you set your sound levels, and you can push record, and away you go. The other advantage of it too is if, for example, I was using a lavalier microphone right now, I could just slip that H1 right into my pocket, and there, I've got it all set up. I don't have to worry about a wireless connection. I don't have to worry about wires going back to a recorder or something like that. It's all self-contained on the person that's recording, and it works out really well. The H4N is kind of an industry standard. I mean, they're actually up to the H6 right now, but the H4 is a really robust, very functional recording device. And if you pick it up and you feel it, the difference between the H1 and the H4 is remarkable. One's made out of metal, it's kind of like built like a tank. The other one's a smaller plastic one. The H4 has a lot more capabilities built into it. It can take XLR microphones, which are the microphones with the bigger connections on them that you'll see in music and that sort of thing a lot. It has 4 tracks, so you can actually record 4 tracks on there, and you can overlay and do a lot of fancy things with it. I'm quite honestly learning right now on how to do all these sort of things. But whether using an H1 or an H4, it's a great way to capture sound on external recording devices. Now, the disadvantage of doing it this way is you do have to then sync it up in post, which really is not difficult. It's just another step in the process, but it's not hard to do. And it becomes very mechanical after a while when you're doing it. I like using both of them, so that way I do have some redundancy built in. For example, I'm recording it 2 ways right now on the H4 from the shotgun microphone, and I do have the H1 mounted on top of my camera right now to capture sound. And the idea behind that is if something happens, The H1's going to be getting the better quality sound out of the shotgun, but at least I've got the sound out of the H1. So if something should happen and I lose the H4 for whatever reason, at least I've got something. Now in this case, I can just easily re-record it if my audio doesn't come out. But if you're in a situation where you've only got one shot at it, it's good to have some redundancy built in to capturing your audio. So we've talked about two things here: external microphones and then external recorders to capture your sound.